All right, welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and President Trump may have just found the easiest way to win the trade war with Canada. Rename their lake. Trump floated calling Lake Ontario Lake America while touting his tough trade stance towards the country. Canada then announced retaliatory tariffs because they didn't like that. But that's like shooting a BB gun at a freight train. No one really cared. I'll take Lake America and 50 cents extra on our maple syrup. Plus, this is interesting. The CIA is knocking on Russia's door. According to reports, CIA Director John Ratcliffe is in Moscow for a series of meetings, but the administration isn't saying exactly what's going on over there. So what's really happening? Maybe time will tell. Or not. And Ghislaine Maxwell's latest bid for freedom just hit a brick wall. A federal judge rejected her request to toss her sex trafficking conviction, ruling her claims on new evidence were meritless. Nice try, Ghislaine, but you're still in jail. But first, Alex Preddy. Remember that guy? The one who got shot? Well, his family's now on a media tour to make him seem like the victim of his own actions. Let's do this. All right. Well, Alex Preddy is back in the news. If you don't remember this guy, he was one of the people who spit on ICE agents, kicked out a taillight on their vehicle, resisted arrest while carrying a firearm, and were supposed to sympathize with him being shot when officers feared for their life. Well, his family is now out 7 months later doing a media tour to play victim.
We really want to get the facts out of what happened to Alex that day. I mean, we've seen what happened. The videos are pretty clear. But we want justice, we want accountability for the people that did this to Alex.
Again, respectfully, I know you lost your son, but the facts are, and yes, the videos are very clear, if they want accountability, ICE should send the family the bill for the taillight that he kicked out 11 days prior to being shot. He was a known agitator. Here's the video right here. He was also, yes, he was also an ICU nurse, but he was a known agitator for or against ICE. As you can see here, he's kicking the taillight out of an ICE vehicle. Had previous runs with them. This is a fact. This is not disputed, which, by the way, this is a crime. We know he was part of a well-organized online group chat to harass ICE, thanks to Carl Higbie. We also know that he was voluntarily part of a, quote, quick response team that was called in to harass ICE when they were conducting lawful operations in any area of the city. This is him pushing back at ICE agents who instructed him to leave the immediate area due to an arrest taking place that they were interfering with. We also know that he brought a gun to these protests, which, by the way, as a gun guy, that's totally legal and constitutional. But when you resist arrest with a firearm, your likelihood of getting shot dramatically increases regardless of your rights. And to all the Democrats who are supporting him and his right to keep and bear arms in that scenario are the same Democrats that have tried to make laws to prevent you and I from carrying our firearms where we choose to. So to his father's point, these are the facts. He may have left these facts out, but these facts are mostly the reason his son got shot. He had every opportunity to follow the law, and he chose not to. This interview went on.
He was a good man.
He's a good kid.
He cared deeply about his community. Minneapolis was his community. He wanted people to be treated fairly, no matter what walk of life, what their background was.
Unless you were an ICE agent. Look, this guy lost his son, all right? I'm trying to be sympathetic of him, but you can't lie about things. This was the same talking point that was trotted out by politicians 7 months ago.
Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there.
This is like the perfect guy. Alex Preddy is the guy you would want to date your daughter, the guy you would want your son to grow up to be.
This guy was the epitome of moral clarity and decency.
By the way, none of those people knew him. This was also at the same time that MS Now ran an AI-altered photo of his face to make him look more attractive, and they tried to portray him as some stud who cared for veterans.
37-year-old Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse who cared for veterans. Donald Trump,
and his cabinet, his administration, are demanding once again that you not believe your eyes and ears.
Believe your eyes and ears, folks. Yes, he did work at the VA. That was his job, okay? It's not like he was like volunteering to care for veterans on the side. He was getting paid to be an ICU nurse. But also, this is the side-by-side. So the guy on the left is who Alex Preddy really, that's his real mugshot. And thanks to Megyn Kelly, she put him side by side like that. They literally used AI to make him more attractive and appealing for their story. Like literally anything they could church up. And this interview went weirder.
They killed him. No one called us. No one.
We still haven't heard from him.
Yeah, that's how we found out. Watching it on TV, watching our son be shot 10 times on TV.
In the back.
In the back.
Trying to help someone.
They keep saying this, like trying to help someone. He was out there with the sole purpose to hinder ICE. We know that from the group chat that he was a part of. He was trying to stop ICE agents from pushing a woman who was also hindering ICE agents. And despite all this video evidence, the family is still thinking that he did nothing wrong.
My shock is that he was murdered, and no one has given us the complete truth or anyone has been held accountable. And it's been 7 months.
Again, I'm trying to be sympathetic to a mother who lost her son. He was not murdered. The reason no one has been held accountable is because your son, ma'am, was in the wrong. He was in the wrong, and the officers were justified. I'm sorry, but that is the reality. He was not murdered. And just because you're sad doesn't change the reality here.
The word domestic terrorist.
Right.
Disgusting is what that was.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those posts are still up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We still hear those words.
You're upset about that. But the left calls Ashley Babbitt a domestic terrorist to this day. Anyone who opposed COVID lockdowns were called domestic terrorists. Questioning the 2020 election, domestic terrorists. Even if you went to the Capitol on January 6th, not went inside, if you went to the Capitol, you were labeled a domestic terrorist.
They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Yeah, we know that that's actually not really the case anymore. So forgive me for thinking that the guy, your son, terrorizing federal officers, ICE agents, not simply observing, as you keep saying, was not innocent. Look, he could have not gone to that protest. He could have not pushed ICE agents. He could have not resisted arrest. And it's not like he didn't know what he was doing because he refused to leave while getting pepper sprayed. He is not a victim here. He was not murdered. So look, I'm sorry you guys lost a son. I really am. I really am. You personally didn't do anything to deserve losing a child, and I am sorry. But it is his fault. But for all the media making a big deal about this right now, I would like to point out that you're doing all this, George Stephanopoulos, with your fake grin on your face. Where is your sit-down interviews for all the parents and spouses of Americans killed by illegals that ICE was getting out of here? You are 167 times more likely to be killed by an illegal immigrant than an ICE agent. Yet, ABC or CNN or MS Now or none of them are rolling out the media wagon for those parents. Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, Hector Garza. Where are those interviews, Hector?
Yeah, it's clear that the media is not interested in hearing the stories from the angel families, from Americans that have been victimized by illegal alien crime. And it's very unfortunate because these families are truly impacted in a very negative way. And we would hope that the media would do more. We know that Newsmax has done an amazing job in airing these stories, but these other news organizations are not interested in that.
Yeah, no, 100%. But then, you know, even in the light of all this, you have Democrats like New York Governor Kathy Hochul trying to prevent ICE from doing their jobs and announcing her state's new law that bans police from assisting ICE going into effect today. Watch this, sir.
ICE can no longer use locally funded police to carry out the Trump administration's aggressive immigration agenda. On civil immigration matters, ICE is on their own. Let me be clear. Any police department or sheriff's office that disobeys this law, that maintains any agreement with ICE, will face legal action.
I mean, it seems really stupid.
Yeah, you would hope that we would get more cooperation from the state jurisdictions, but unfortunately, some of these liberal states are taking this position that they do not want to cooperate with federal law enforcement, and it's interesting because the work of ICE, the work of DHS, the work of CBP goes far beyond just illegal immigration. We have law enforcement agents that are out there stopping sexual predators. We're stopping people that are committing human trafficking, that are impacting real human beings in this country, and unfortunately, because of the lack of cooperation from these states, it makes our jobs that much more difficult.
Yeah, no, it is. And Democrats, they can try all they want, but they're not going to stop ICE because I think agents have arrested 50,000 people just in July, which is the highest single monthly arrest total during the second Trump administration. That's why when they were attacking Markwayne Mullin, he just wasn't making a big deal about it in the media, but they were 50,000 people in a month.
Yeah, that just goes to show that ICE agents and law enforcement in general are very effective at doing their job. And this administration has made it very clear that we are going to be going after the worst of the worst in this country. And this is a problem that was created by the Biden administration. Think about what happened during that administration. They let millions of criminal illegal aliens to come through our border unvetted. And unfortunately, because of those unvetted individuals, now we're seeing crime, and now we're having to clean up the mess that was left behind by Joe Biden.
And it's weird, too, that everywhere ICE cleans up illegal immigrants, crime goes down. I don't know. Hector, great to see you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl.
All right. Folks, we got a big primary runoff tonight for the GOP nomination in South Carolina Senate between the appointed Senator Darlene Graham, sister of the late Lindsey Graham, obviously, and Congressman Ralph Norman. Now, Graham received 33% vote in the special primary 2 weeks ago. Norman received 25%, but that was before our debate here held on Newsmax by our own Greta. But our Newsmax correspondent, Andrew Kraft, live in Columbia, South Carolina at the Darlene Graham watch party with the latest. Polls are neck and neck, Andrew. What do you think?
Yeah, Carl, good to be with you here. And you're right. This is a really close race so far, according to some of these latest polls. We just got here in the venue for Senator Darlene Graham's election night watch party. We've been speaking to voters all day at a polling location. But you noted that Trafalgar Group poll that essentially has them statistically tied, 47 to 47%, still about 4% undecided voters here. So, yes, it's very close. But this is what we know. Carolina voters, I mean, they're making up their own mind. Congressman Ralph Norman running a strong race as well. He recently came in third in the GOP primary for governor here in the state in June. Norman is one of the founders, of course, of the House Freedom Caucus. He says he has a long history of backing Trump. His voting record suggests that as well. He's also claiming Darlene Graham is backed by the D.C. establishment, alleging even Democrats are funding ads on her behalf. Now, of course, Graham has been criticized for having no political experience. Some voters describe her to me as an amateur. Of course, she has no voting or political record because she's never been in elected politics before. You mentioned at the Newsmax debate last week, she caused some controversy because, remember, she didn't answer that question on foreign policy, the Taiwan question, a whiff of an answer there posed by Greta. But voters here say that question, or lack thereof, was a deciding factor in their vote today. Listen.
What really brought me out today was the national security comment. Yeah.
That was
like
kind of
everything, you know?
It's still getting a lot of play. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in the room, and it really, you could feel how awkward that was. You could feel that over the TV.
Yeah, it's incredibly awkward.
I think Darlene is an amateur at it, whereas Ralph is the other way around. But I don't know. It's a toss-up.
I love the fact that people in this area feel it is very important because from what I understand from going inside, it's been very steady and that people are wanting to exercise their vote, which, y'all, that's what it's all about. We're so fortunate we can do that in America.
Yeah.
So about 45 minutes left before polls do close. Of course, if you're still in line, you can vote after that. And so this will be really interesting. We'll just have to wait and see what these results are. Here in South Carolina, state law does allow for a recount if it's 1% and fewer. So we'll just have to wait and see. Reporting live here in Columbia, Andrew Kraft, Newsmax. Carl?
Andrew, appreciate it. All right, coming up, Trump's DOJ is taking on a surprising Second Amendment battle, and it's happening at a place you probably wouldn't expect. We got 2A Tuesday coming up, but first, Trump just scored a Supreme Court win on mail-in voting, and Democrats big mad naturally. If only they fought this hard for election integrity. Next.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, you know, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along, and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, you know, others are coming along, and people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
If you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
My dad had never been in better shape. Then he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of us. Ethos.com. 10 minutes, 100% online.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and no, I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
It's really hard not to feel a little reverberation of anxiety that this is a court that, once again, is up to no good for a political motive.
Up to no good for restricting mail-in voting to make sure we know who they are, right? Yesterday, we mentioned President Trump securing a major win after the Supreme Court sided with the White House over Trump's executive order restricting mail-in voting in a 6-3 decision. With no surprise, you have Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson in dissent while they debate what a woman is. The court's conservative majority did not decide the legality of the order. Instead, they just said that states do not have the right or the legal right to challenge his executive order. Yet for some wild reason, I guess that wasn't clear to New York Governor's Kathy Hochul, who posted on X, quote, "New York challenged this unlawful executive order from the very beginning and will continue to fight to protect New Yorkers' sacred right to vote and integrity of our elections." Maybe she missed the part about Supreme, in which court said, this fight's over. Nothing else that can be done, Kathy. It's over. She's not the only one. California Governor Gavin Newsom chimed in as well, posting on his X account, "Following today's SCOTUS ruling, California will sue again to block Trump's attack on mail-in voting. Every eligible voter gets a mail-in ballot here, and we'll keep fighting to keep it that way." Imagine if they fought against fraud as much as they fought for it. Former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, J-Town. I mean, Supreme means supreme, and it's kind of the end of the road, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be more litigation, Carl. The rule goes live tomorrow, and so they're going to challenge it again. And Judge Talwani up in Massachusetts is going to issue another injunction and then set a schedule for briefing that extends out into December, right? Just very convenient that it gets past the midterms and actually the mail-in ballot dates that states need to start getting these things out here soon, probably the end of September is the latest.
How do they do that if it's already been told, like, hey, you guys can't do this? They just do it?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the lawfare that you and I have been talking about for a couple of years with these nationwide injunctions. One, this was a nationwide injunction by the judge in Massachusetts, which the Supreme Court has said district judges cannot do. And two, she's claiming jurisdiction over a rule that only the Postal Regulatory Commission, it's like an APA rule, right? Where you can't go through the federal courts, you go through the APA. And she's doing it anyway because she's saying Trump is way outside of the bounds of Article 2 and cites the ultra-virus doctrine when, you know what? Last time I checked, Carl, he's in charge of the post office.
Well, but the other thing, too, is she's now, this Judge Arinda Talwani, or whatever, Talwani, ruled that she's now ruled after the Supreme Court came down and said that, oh, no, the USPS violated her nationwide injunction, which she can't do, against President Trump's election executive order by finalizing the mail-in ballot rules while her order to block it was in place, even though it was found not a legitimate order because they had no standing to do so. I mean, so, like, let it go, lady.
Is that what Talwani is?
Fair point.
Just a few hours ago, she excoriated the government for violating her restraining order and then imposed no penalty whatsoever. You know why? Because she knows that if she does, that is immediately appealable, and she's trying to draw this thing out as long as she can. The rule goes live tomorrow. There'll be litigation this week. Have me back Friday or next week, and we'll see what the posture is. But this Department of Justice must go to the Supreme Court and get a ruling in advance of an order so they can put an end to this nonsense.
If I was a lawyer, I would just get middle finger cardboard cutouts and just not do this stuff for the White House.
I got them.
Yeah,
I'll send you one. Yeah,
man. All right, J-Town, pleasure as always.
Thanks, Carl.
Folks, 2A Tuesday, so let's do some gun stuff. Another major win for gun owners. The Justice Department now says lawful gun owners can carry in post offices. Speaking about the post offices, after being told that carrying a firearm was illegal in there for years, this opens up the conversation to carry on all federal property and schools and anywhere else. And I am here for it. More guns, less crime. GOA National Spokesman Luis Valdes and AWR Hawkins, Second Amendment columnist at Breitbart News. AWR, this is mega.
Oh, this is phenomenal. And, you know, I've always felt, and I bet Lewis is going to agree, I've always felt vulnerable when I go in a post office, and I couldn't risk being caught on federal property with a gun to protect myself. Now things are as they should be, and it's crazy. If anyone owns federal property, it's we the people, and we the people should have our rights when we're there, and now we will, and this is awesome.
100%. All right, Lewis, GOA, you guys are just banging out wins left and right, okay? You guys pushed hard for the CDC. I mean, this is literally what you did for the CDC to start publishing defensive gun use figures back on their website. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, they're now doing that. AWR, you're the guy actually who wrote this up too, which is crazy. But now they're showing, the CDC is noting more than 2.5 million defensive gun uses last year. That's lives saved.
Look, it comes down to a real simple thing. When seconds count, cops are minutes away. And I say this as a retired cop. There's a reason why the law-abiding public is able to defend themselves and protect themselves against criminal scumbags on the street. There's a reason why crime rates in places like New York are up, but in Miami are low. It's because the public can carry firearms.
Yeah, no, it's just so weird that there's never been like a shooting at a gun show or something like that. I don't know. Just an observation, but who am I? All right, another win for the Trump administration, again, on guns. A federal judge in Texas ruled that the Biden-era ghost gun restrictions were unconstitutional. Okay, U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor held that the 2022 measure, which required that self-assembled guns, now this could be you putting literally like bolting a handle onto an existing AR-15 platform. That's how like nit and gritty it got. But it conflicts with the national historical tradition of personal gunsmithing and self-manufactured firearms, AWR.
Amen. Well, and here's what I worried about. From the start with this rule, which I don't agree with at all, but what I worried about, this is going to morph into background checks for a drop-in trigger for a Glock, background checks for a mag extension for my P365 macro, so on and so forth. And I believe that's where they really wanted this to go. And this judge, by doing what has been done here, has nipped that in the bud, and it needed to be done.
No, 100%. Real quick, Louis, a Blue City tragedy, thanks to criminal who shouldn't have been on the streets, Jonathan Hanley. The man charged in Sunday's fatal shooting or stabbing near the Atlanta Beltline East Side Trail had 30 prior arrests and was on active probation for aggravated assault. And this is all according to the police department. He was booked Monday on charges, but keeps happening. Carry on, I guess.
Once again, another prime example of the revolving door criminal justice system in which hardened scumbags are let loose out on the streets, but you have jurisdictions in the country that they will throw the book at every law-abiding gun owner trying to defend themselves. Once again, criminals are criminals because they break the law.
Yeah. No, I know, weird. We just need more laws that make murder more illegal. That should solve everything. AWR, Luis, Valdes, appreciate both of you guys.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, the music world pays tribute to the loss of legendary Dolly Parton. A man who knew the icon, Ted Nugent, going to join us next.
I switched.
I switched. I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
Newsmax. Newsmax.
Have you made the switch? You bet I did. My whole family switched. Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
Hello, my name is Dr. Eli Simsolo. As a cardiologist, I know that getting help fast and treatment within minutes of a sudden cardiac event can increase survival rates as high as 90%.
This is Life Alert. Do you have an emergency?
I think I'm having a heart attack.
We're sending help right now.
From falls to heart attacks or any emergency, Life Alert is the only medical alert service that saves a life every 11 minutes. Plus, their devices never need charging, so you stay protected 24/7. And that's why I recommend Life Alert to my patients.
For information or a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-973-1947. That's 1-800-973-1947. For a free brochure, call now, 1-800-973-1947.
We wanted transparency, but we couldn't find it. So we started Good Ranchers to reconnect the American family to the American farm. All of our meat is 100% born, raised, and harvested right here on American soil. But good sourcing is just the beginning. We go the extra mile to take stuff off your plate. Pre-trimmed cuts, easy thaw bags, fully cooked options.
Ooh, yeah, this is good.
And it's good for you. No antibiotics, no added hormones, no seed oils, no gluten, no funny business.
An Erie Metal roof is built to outlast just about anything life can throw at it. Like a lifetime of hailstones playing hardball. Or scorching summer temps. Plus, to outlast your mortgage with a 50-year transferable warranty. Get a free consultation with Erie Home. Call or click today.
Today, we're giving a brand new smart home to one of our great heroes, Paul Hurley, and his family. He gave so much in sacrifice by being injured in the line of duty in the military.
I was in the Navy. I got hurt and I lost my leg. It was a very difficult transition. I'm so grateful to have an organization like this in my life, to have people that care.
Go to T2T.org now. It only takes $11 a month to make a positive impact.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
You're grounded.
You're gonna ground me? When you're 45 and you haven't even screened for colon cancer.
I'm busy. I promised your mother I'd fix the sink 3 years ago.
The Cologuard Plus test is non-invasive with no prep.
And it detects 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
Now that's thinking inside the box.
False positive and negative results may occur. The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drew. Our cells oxidize, and fatty 15 reduces that risk. C15 is the longevity nutrient. I take this nutrient, my family takes the nutrients, you should too. Fatty 15 has benefits that people actually see and feel.
All right, folks, we got some sad news that broke this afternoon as the legendary country musician, often called the Queen of Country, Dolly Parton, passed away at the age of 80. Now, Parton released 49 albums. She won 11 Grammy Awards, starred in movies, and even had her own theme park named after her. Let's bring in a man who knew Dolly Parton, guitar icon and American Outdoor Sportsman of the Year, Ted Nugent. Ted, you knew her. You sent us the pictures.
I'll tell you, Dolly Parton was a force to reckon with. We've lost a great, great musical authority, a really down-to-earth, really grounded entrepreneur. She represented the best of the best, and I was lucky to collide with Dolly Parton on the road doing concerts side by side. We've never done a concert together, but I'll never forget when I was doing a sold-out concert in San Antonio, and she was doing a sold-out concert in San Antonio, and we kind of rendezvoused on the streets that night eating Mexican food. And she was like a buxomous Ted Nugent. She had a lot of piss and vinegar, a lot of spirit, a lot of attitude. And she's created a soundtrack through her dreams to be the best that she can be. She's created a soundtrack for a lot of people. So God bless Dolly Parton. And we lost Frank Beard from ZZ Top. We're still mourning Toby Keith and Eddie Van Halen. So we're losing a lot of musical forces, but their music will be with us forever.
I was listening to her 9 to 5 song in my office before we came on. It really, I mean, she did rock the music, but she was also like one of the kindest souls. Like she spent she was extremely wealthy, rightfully so, but she spent a lot of her money helping people.
You know, and that's not out of the ordinary. I started a Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity 37 years ago. Eddie Van Halen donated to children's charity. Sammy Hagar's got a children's foundation. Steven Tyler does incredible donations. So in the music industry, you have a lot of very loving, giving, generous souls. And Dolly Parton, I'm sure, led the way in many ways. You know, I'm a rock and roll guy, and she was country music. And Toby Keith was a dear friend. I got some great country buddies. In fact, I'm angry I didn't write the song Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. But that being as it may, Dolly Parton's attitude and her positive energy was just, like I said, a force to reckon with. So we're going to miss her. I got to jam with her on the Mike Douglas show. There's a video of that somewhere. And what a moment it was. Mike Douglas, Susan Anton, Ted Nugent, Dolly Parton. Now there's proof that really good people can get along no matter what their roles in life, right?
No, 100%. And the other thing is she didn't stop, too. Like she was up till the day, I wouldn't say the day, but up till very recent to her passing, she was on the go.
Yeah, and again, that work ethic. She was different than you and I, but not really. Had a work ethic, believed in God, family, country, being the best that you can be, getting up early, being a productive asset for your family, your neighborhood, your fellow man, the American dream, and people around the world. And I've toured all around the world, and there's no place on planet Earth that people don't really smile when you mention the name Dolly Parton. And I think that'll live on forever. You know, in the middle of Stranglehold, I said, some people think to get high, you got to start low. You think you're going to die. I got news. You never got to go. Dolly Parton music is a perfect example of that. It'll be a soundtrack for loving people forever.
Yeah, and she kept, ownership of all her rights and all that stuff because she considered them her children. Ted Nugent, pleasure as always, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to celebrate Dolly Parton with you.
Yeah, couldn't think of a better guy to have on. All right, coming up. Girl Scouts of America launching Girl Scouts of the Islamic Faith medals, badges. I don't think so. We got Culture Clash next.
It's our America. We built it. Courage, freedom. Millions go to Newsmax when they need to know. Start today on the free Newsmax app. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Ah, the good old days.
Oh, yeah.
Back when the team ran HR through 15 different apps, they spent half their time getting them to talk to each other, and the other half squeezing me. But then suddenly the whole team got on the ball, and that ball was not me, my friends. And it still hurts.
When your business needs an HR platform that's truly all-in-one, that's Bambooable. That's Bamboo HR.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
In America, we believe in hard work, family, and taking care of our own.
That's why SafeStep walk-in tubs are proudly designed, built, and assembled in the USA, in the heart of Tennessee, by more than 300 hardworking Americans.
My name is Michelle Johnson. Lamination is where we put the fiberglass, resin, and gel coat on the actual product.
Skilled craft professionals, building every tub with precision, care, and pride. With a low step-in design, built-in safety features, and soothing therapeutic jets, SafeStep helps you stay comfortable, confident, and in control.
My name's Angela Peters. We make sure everything is as perfect as it can be.
When you choose SafeStep, you're not just investing in your home, you're supporting American families and American jobs. Call now for your free in-home consultation and ask about our special offer. SafeStep walk-in tubs, made in Tennessee, made for you.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Are you throwing away money on your car insurance?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Try Insurify. We help you compare quotes and save half on your car insurance.
I like it when things are convenient and save me lots of money.
Go to Insurify.com and save up to $1,000 a year on your car insurance.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Jordan's a new homeowner, and she thought she had a drainage problem.
There's water everywhere.
Turns out it was clogged gutters. It pools near your foundation and can seep into your home. But Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free. Call or click today.
On a lighter note, actually, I don't know if there's a lighter note. Girl Scouts of America is now offering Muslim badges to be earned by learning the pillars of Islam as well as visiting mosques. Yes, required attendance. Non-Muslim girls are invited to mosques to observe Islamic prayer. The program includes Hajj patches, I don't know whether there's Shahida lessons requiring hijabs and Ramadan lock-ins. Newsmax contributor Kay Smythe and host of Tony Katz Today, Tony Katz. Tony, not really feeling this, and I might stop buying Girl Scout cookies.
Well, there have been a lot of reasons that a lot of people can give you, and you wait till your Twitter feed explodes, about not buying Girl Scout cookies and things that the Girl Scouts have done. This isn't out of the realm for them. They actually have patches, badges, medals you can get regarding Judaism if you're Jewish and in the Girl Scouts. The fundamental difference here is that no parent thinks their daughter should be looking at Islam as a value to girls. The history is clear. The science is clear. The political system that is Islam, because it's not a religion, it's a political system, is clear. And that's the question. Why in the world would you introduce this? You can argue diversity, but this isn't diversity. It is anything but diversity.
Submission.
It is the abuse of an entire sex. It can't be denied.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it's actually unbelievable. But moving on to other failures, Kay. The Barack Obama Elementary School in Richmond, Virginia, will not open this week or in the near foreseeable future because of mold. Officials saying it will be closed, quote, indefinitely. Look, this is what happens when the left's flagship institution is taken control by government. Barack Obama's name on the front. You sure you want to put these people in charge of housing or health care or an ant farm?
Yeah, those like mold, I think, defines pretty much everything that's been built in the last 5 years anyway. It really doesn't surprise me that this school was built with the same crappy standards. And yeah, every time you get the government
maintained with crappy standards.
Take it from a girl who grew up in a country where the government controls pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you let them get involved, guess what's going to happen? Not only are your schools going to rot with mold, but the kids in those schools aren't going to be able to read. I think that's happening in a couple of cities over here, too. Everyone's going to fall for that climate change crap until they get old enough to figure out they've been duped into it. Taxes are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
You'll see a massive decline in overall quality of... Guys, it kind of sounds like when we let the government get involved in stuff, everything goes wrong. Am I wrong?
Say word. All right, Don Lemon, this guy, melting down over Carmelo Anthony's case being denied a new trial. Watch this, Tony.
So now the defense says the first trial was too controlled, too secretive, and unfair. The judge said no. 35 years, still stands. And I'm still stuck on one thing. He was 17, and now he could spend most of his life in prison. That is a hell of a sentence for a teenager.
We should ask how long Metcalf is going to not be arrested. Oh, and never again, because he was stabbed in the heart.
I am one of the people who's amazed that Don Lemon isn't in jail for leading a mob against a church and threatening parishioners. You want to talk about judges not doing their job. He's not upset that there isn't a new trial. He's upset that Carmelo Anthony was found guilty. He is engaged in the full racial argument that Carmelo Anthony can't be guilty because it's unfair if a black man or child is found guilty. There is a lot that didn't come out in the hearing. We learned about later some of the things that Don Lemon was complaining about. And there is a question of how that stuff wasn't released. What was this gentleman's agreement? I think that's legitimate complaints. Yeah. But not getting a new trial as opposed to the idea of we got the wrong verdict. Don Lemon's lying about what he's upset about.
Right. But Kate, this goes into like the whole vein of thinking as liberals. And you've got this, Senate nominee Angie Nixon that thinks Republicans are defunding schools so they can populate prisons. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, do you guys, are you an enigma? Were you put on this plan? I mean, watch this.
These for-profit prisons, these elected officials, these billionaires, they want our children to have an ill education, a ridiculous, a horrible education, right? Which is why they're defunding public schools, because they want to usher them into the school-to-prison pipeline. Why make sure that our children have a good quality education when they know they'll make more money off of them going to prison and exploiting their labor?
Maybe she should be more concerned about the fact that 13% of the population, black population, is accounting 56% of our prison population. Maybe it's not some systemic thing. Maybe it's attitude or culture or problems that they're committing. Maybe she should focus on that.
Well, I think also focusing on schools is ridiculous and doesn't make any sense either. The reason that the school voucher program in Florida was created was because the government-run schools in Florida are failing out their students. It is that simple. How about instead of focusing on, okay, maybe she would have had like a tiny little thing to stand on 20 years ago. But you're right, Carl. The system that she's describing doesn't exist anymore. If it existed at all, this sort of like school to prison pipeline thing, like it's just not a thing. But I think that what she's trying to get at is this idea that Republicans, instead of being, the common sense solution party, and like trying to fix this, she's ignoring the fact that they've had more power. Democrats, you know what I'm getting at.
I got to leave it right there. I'm out of time. I know, Tony, we'll start with you next time. Kay, Tony, pleasure as always.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, the power goes out in Democrat states and they decide to blame it on racism. Doesn't make sense. Next.
Hi, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. If your back bothers you day after day, you know it doesn't just affect your back. It changes how you stand, walk, sleep, and how you feel about yourself. Maybe you smile through the grandkids' game, the grocery store, the yard work, or the family trip, quietly counting the minutes until you must sit down, or maybe you just miss those moments altogether. I know how frustrating it is when your body starts making decisions for you. And that's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back support system built specifically for everyday backaches. More technology means more relief, and Signal Core has twice the technology as the original patch. And it comes with our money-back guarantee. It's targeted drug-free back support that you can wear through the day. Try Signal Core today by going to signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
We can't find a ranch style with a view.
And a mom-in-law suite.
More realtor agents recommend realtor.com. With their expert new search tool, just search it like you'd say it.
room for mom.
And Reba. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Where's the admission desk at your hospital? You may need it sooner than you think. It's the middle of the night and you, your spouse, or your child is sick, high fever, can't keep anything down, and getting worse. Now you're waiting in the ER, and everyone gets seen before you. And when I finally see you and order prescriptions, you still have to wait for your pharmacy to open and hope they have what I prescribed. This is the medical emergency kit. It's stocked with essential medications, including amoxicillin, generic Z-Pak, and ivermectin. Now you have the right medications when you need them. And it's why I and so many of my colleagues have medical emergency kits. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your home. Just fill out a brief online medical intake and your kit, prescribed by a licensed provider, is shipped to your door. Here's how to order.
Order your kit now and save $45. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news. That's urgentcarekit.com/news.
Today's AI capabilities can make your head spin, but for scammers, it's the ultimate tool. They're using AI to exploit tech gaps and slip past traditional security. PCmatic keeps your information private and devices safe with online security solutions developed in America to protect Americans. Built for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Secure 5 devices for just $50 for your first year. Get online protection at PCmatic.com.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Democrats will make anything into this racial issue. This time, they're blaming a power outage on racism. This is in 2 separate locations simultaneously, by the way. In Memphis, Tennessee, state representative and congressional candidate Justin Pearson tweeted out, after a thunderstorm last night, 100,000 households in Memphis are without power, possibly until Thursday. It's 90 degrees outside. Another majority black working class city left in the dark. And Community Notes actually stepped in immediately and said, outages from severe Bo Echo storm, 60 to 80 mile per hour winds. MLGW's 7th worst mayor, Paul Young, is black. Police chief is black. City council is majority black. 63% majority black city. City utility MLGW restoring mostly by Thursday. And let's take a look at that company, MLGW, the power company that supplies power for Memphis. 4 of the 7 members on that company's board of commissioners are black. So maybe we should blame the competence of the people in charge rather than trying to ignite race wars for clicks. But that makes black people look bad, so he didn't want to do that. And the same thing in Gary, Indiana, that also got smashed by a storm recently. And power crews, they are working around the clock to get power restored. But now, 13 days after the storm, large parts of the city are still without power. Now, Gary, Indiana's mayor, who is black, is saying that his city is 100% being neglected because it's predominantly black with this clown.
This is, to me, it feels like neglect. Do you think that some of that neglect comes from or is happening, if you feel that way? It may be in part because Gary is a black working class city?
100%. I believe that a couple things are at play here.
Except it has nothing to do with being black or actually anything else other than the fact that the power crew that was fixing, get this, that were fixing the electrical problems were getting shot at in Gary, Indiana. I would leave that neighborhood and never come back if I was a power crew. That's like shooting at a rescue boat when you're drowning. Not interested, sorry, bye. But the fact that this mayor is blaming it on the power companies not caring about a community because it's predominantly black is patently ridiculous. This is the kind of stuff that sets race relations back in America. And of course, Don Lemon is sitting there like nodding along like a child because that's the only issue he knows how to talk about when he's not storming churches. But then this guy goes into this like weird tirade about how Gary, Indiana, nobody cares about them. Also because they're black.
They were releasing the updates of restoration. And Gary was not listed on that restoration list. Gary is the largest geographic footprint of a city that we have, not population-wise, but geographic footprint. And that was the moment that the extreme frustration came out from the public because it would appear that we're being forgotten.
No. Instead of running to the race card, maybe this mayor should have taken a step back and done like some basic economics here. Power in Gary, Indiana is provided by the Northern Indiana Public Service Company. NIPSCO is what they're called. It's a private company with a public parent company, but they are not government, much like many utilities in America. I'm just going to put this in perspective here. Private companies require this pesky little thing called revenue to survive, and they generally service the least profitable people first. This is just basic economics. This power company services a lot of areas in and around Gary. Just economics, the most recent data we have is a little over a year old, but as of last year, about 127,000 of their 600,000 or 700,000 customers, residential customers in their service area, had accounts that were more than 60 days delinquent. We also know, we can cross-reference that with residents of Gary, Indiana, who are the most vocal, complaining about their ability and also their refusal to pay their bills because there's a median income of less than $40,000 a year there. This leads to a higher delinquency rate in Gary, Indiana than almost anywhere else in the area. Non-payment rate also pretty high. Electrical services in Gary, Indiana are getting shut off. So stack that on top of the fact that the technicians are getting shot at. No wonder you still don't have electricity. I'm not even shocked that they're going back down to that town to help at all. But perhaps a better use of time and resources by this mayor would be to help getting residents to, one, stop shooting at people in their power vehicles. But also Gary, Indiana has notably high crime as well. Perhaps he should be focused on the crime rate in his city, and if he does that, I'd be willing to bet, actually, that the businesses that are fleeing might actually come back. So my mother is actually from Gary, Indiana, believe it or not. So I know this story pretty intimately. Their entire city infrastructure was based around the steel industry, which since the 60s essentially dwindled their operations down to a few thousand jobs from like over 100,000 back in the day. In the 90s, they were actually dubbed the murder capital of America. That mayor conveniently left that one out. I remember there was a mass outrage. This started back in the 60s. It was referred to as white flight, because white people moved out because of the murder rate, mostly to the surrounding suburbs or out completely like my own mom did. They left it in its current status today, predominantly black, and after 40 years of Democrat rule, not brought any of the jobs back or fixed any of the socioeconomic problems. So this mayor, instead of accepting the fact that his policies are complete and utter failures, he decided to go on Don Lemon, the chief race baiter himself, podcast, and declare that it has everything to do with skin color and not to do with all the factors that are actually causing those things to happen. Good luck fixing this with that attitude, man, because this is one of those things that is never going to go away. It's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be helped. And you're doing the people who elected you on hope, you're doing them a disservice by telling them it's about the color of their skin and not about the character that they represent when they shoot at the power company that's coming to help them out. I don't know. All right, before we go, J.B. Pritzker realizes what I thought was a weight loss commercial. It turns out to be just another Democrat vanity project. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
If you know luxury, it's not just award-winning, it's rewarding. Sattva mattresses support all types of sleepers with durable steel coils and plush organic cotton. Sattva luxury mattresses are handcrafted and assembled in American factories using globally sourced premium materials and brought directly to you with our complimentary in-home delivery and setup service. Sattva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Yeah, it's been forever.
Dale?
We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield.
Several days ago, my plane crashed in the wild. Good job, buddy. I'll get you home.
The night has come, and all the land is dark.
I got you. Go on, boy.
Part of the Beast. New trailer online now.
Salonpas Lidocaine Flex, a super thin, flexible patch with maximum OTC strength lidocaine that contours to the body to relieve pain right where it hurts. And did we mention it really, really sticks? Salonpas, it's good medicine.
People always ask me how I stay ready, how I stay consistent, how I lock in when it actually counts, again and again. It's the work you do before anyone's watching. They think I must be on something. Maybe. It's pure, it's potent. It's all me. Something that never lets me down. Armra. I'm on it.
America. A people bound by faith, freedom, and opportunity. Its prosperity owed to a long line of warriors. And an ethos that remains unwavering. Our warfighters stand on the shoulders of giants who have taught us to fight and win. America's War Department continues to build the most lethal fighting force on the planet. Because peace demands strength. Now is the time to earn a place in the fight for the American cause. And the shoulders the next generation stand on will be yours.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker showed up for a photo shoot that oddly turned out looking more like a GLP-1 commercial. He called it Governor Maxing. Oh, he's Maxing, all right. He's posting on his Twitter, obviously. That's, first off, that's not a thing. And shouldn't it be more like Governor Max XLing? Dude is bragging about his leadership, yet 17 people were shot, 4 of them fatally, over this weekend in Chicago. Where are the Dems who railed against Kristi Noem, remember, for cosplaying, doing commercials on ICE's dime, right? What do you?
Why is he making videos where he's like a sex symbol? I mean, it's J.B. Pritzker. What is he? I mean, I saw that yesterday. I couldn't believe that he put that out there. But it kind of tracks with the way these people are behaving right now. He's going to run for president.
Yeah. Are you about to do some Schmidt-Maxing?
I'm going to try and Schmidt-Max a little bit.
I like it.
Carl, good to see you.
Newsmax.
There you go. Newsmaxing.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.